natural or biological and physical sciences or in other fields? The answer is other fields will be fine at our school and at many schools because of the rationale that we just described for having an interest in research. If you are applying to a medical school which has as its mission the development of physician scientists, they may be looking more specifically for health sciences research. Other categories.
Judicial record.
I'm sorry?
Judicial record as far as...
Judicial record or disciplinary record. Okay, disciplinary record. Why do we care? So this year we have just shy of 12,000 applicants for 124-year MD seats in our class at BU School of Medicine, and several hundred of those applicants have an institutional action on their record for underage drinking. I'm sure you're as horrified as I am to discover that people underage actually drink when they're in college. Who knew? Certainly my daughters didn't drink when they went to college. If people have an isolated institutional action for underage drinking in the fall semester of their freshman year and an otherwise unremarkable record with no additional discipline, I don't care. If they have a pattern of multiple institutional actions for underage drinking, perhaps punctuated by violence or resisting arrest or using a false ID, which is not a happenstance but requires planning and forethought, we're very worried. Yeah, I gave you a hint. So the history of discipline in the record is of importance, and we will be interested in that, and to the degree that it tells us something about you, the person, we will be particularly interested. Think of your application as your opportunity to paint a picture. You're painting a picture of you, the person behind the documents. And your goal is to paint that picture vividly enough, clearly enough, in bright, vibrant colors, so that we will look at that picture and say, I really want to meet this person. I really want to see this person in you. And when you paint that picture, the disciplinary record is an opportunity for you to illustrate an important behavior type. If you minimize the event and your description is different from what the university provides us, what have we learned about you? We've learned something very important. We've learned two important things. First is that you are not willing to accept responsibility for your actions, a devastating characteristic for a doc. And second, we've learned that you do not respect the truth. And if there's anything more devastating than the first, it would be the second. Absence of truth-telling is the single most difficult characteristic of any physician. I chaired the credentials committee at our teaching hospital for 10 years. It's the hospital that reviews the ability and privileging of all the doctors on the staff. And the single most difficult issue we ever encountered in 10 years was the failure of truth-telling. If your application includes evidence of a failure of truth-telling, that is a very troubling issue for an admissions committee. And that would include academic dishonesty as well. And compounding that error that might have been done because you were young and foolish by minimizing it or distorting it or failing to disclose parts or all of it only makes it much, much, much worse. Talk with your advisors. Be careful and thoughtful about your applications, and never, ever, ever attempt to tell us things that are not true. It's a bad thing in general, and it's a devastating error in a medical school application.
What about noise and other non-alcohol related?
So what about noise and other RA stuff? The issue here really is there a pattern? Did you have one event during exams, freshman year? Had you done it 5 times? Did you get booted out of the dorm? Are you persona non grata on the campus for 6 months? Imagine how we, a bunch of old farts in suits, would look at your record and look at it through those eyes. Other types of information we might have available to us. I'm sorry?
The
Essay. Why do we care about the essay?
Why?
It's your fault you brought it up.
It shows your personality and what you really think of yourself and why you want to do what you want to do.
Okay, so the essay gives us a window into you, the person. Can somebody tell me what are the characteristics of the best essay? Can you look in a book and find the best essay? You want to tell everybody what the book is to look up? Could it be that there is such a book? Why do I know with absolute certainty that there is no such book? Even though there are some ostensibly doing that.
Everyone has a different story.
Yeah, because you're different. The essay is your best shot at giving us that glimpse of you, the person. Hiring somebody who's a total stranger to write your essay, copying it off the web, getting your mother to write it? I know. Who would have imagined such things would occur? These are false, bogus lures because they don't give us a glimpse into you, the person. They will not help your application. There is no right way to write the essay beyond making sure that it is written in a literate and communicative, coherent manner, and that you remember to spell check it before you upload it to AMCAS. Beyond all of that, the essay is you. If you're a funny person and you want to write a funny essay, fine. But make sure that at least one or two other people think it's funny before you upload it to AMCAS. If you have people telling you, Aunt Sally who's a doctor or Uncle George, and they say, oh no, here's what you got to write in the essay. Nod politely, sip your drink, and move on. The essay that speaks to you and about you most persuasively in your own eyes is the best essay, and yours will be different from every other one in the room, and that's good. I read thousands of these damn things, and we really light on the ones that give us that real human glimpse that they are vibrant. We say, wow, that's cool. I want to tell you the first sentence from my very favorite essay of all time. It began with the following phrase: I carry the burden of a privileged life. She then went on to tell us how she had struggled to overcome the burden of having a privileged life, to understand the lot, the thinking, the emotions of the people she wished to care for who were very disadvantaged. It was a remarkable insight into herself and into the circumstances of medicine. She's now a third-year medical student in our programs. My favorite essay of all times. I've told her it 100 times. And she admitted to me that every advisor and every faculty member who read that essay told her, don't by any means submit this essay. This essay is the death knell. This essay is toast. What other sources of information do we have? Letter or letters of recommendation. Tell me about it.
It's important because it includes opinions about you and your work style from people that you've worked with, professors, and internship.
So is it important to have letters from very senior people with a lot of alphabet soup after their name? The answer was no. Is it important to have letters from very senior people? Well, it's nice to have one or two like that, but if those are people who don't know you, if those are people who are the senior faculty member in a 400-person lecture course where you actually know the TA and that professor writes a letter, Susan must be a very smart woman because she got an A in my course and that's really hard to do. Love, Bob. That's not much of a letter. I already knew she got an A. I read the transcript. That letter didn't help me at all. A letter that helps me understand the person and her work and how she struggled and how she was challenged and how she grew with that experience and how she was a leader in the study group and how she contributed to the work, that's a letter worth reading. Letters need to be from people who know you and your work. And yes, if you get one or two letters from very senior people, that's helpful. An example of how a letter can be helpful, when you get to one of the cases, you'll see a very powerful letter from a very senior person, and that actually made quite an impression on us, and we'll talk about it then. Other sources of information. work history. I'm going to include that under activities, but yes, lots of people have worked, and does that have to have all been work in healthcare? No. But I think odds are, if you are a sentient human being and you have had your eyes open when you work, you will have learned something about the world around you. An essay I just read quite recently included some commentary by a young man who had worked in the landscape gardening business for 3 summers, and what he learned from the non-English speaking folks he worked with who had a completely different understanding of life from his own, and how he began to develop the ability to see the world through their eyes, and how that opened his mind to some things that he had just never considered. Changed his outlook on life. That was for him a transformative experience, and that comment in his essay was transformative for us as well. Other items or types of information. I think that's a pretty good list. Now here's what we're going to do. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to break up into groups of, 3, 4, 5 people, turn around and face one another, and we'll begin to look at the cases. The people from about plaid shirt over, you'll do case 1 in groups of 3 to 5. From Chicago to 5K road race. Just this side of 5K, we'll do case 2. Everybody here will do case 3, groups of 3 to 5. Please read the cases and be prepared to have someone, just one moment please, read out the case to us and tell us how you evaluated it using this construct. We're going to try to move along because we started late. Take 6 minutes to look at your cases. On your mark, get set, go.
It may be beneficial to pause it for the time being. Yeah. I don't know, can you pause and restart though?